So we continue in the series of it's called the Gate of Bitachon, the Gate of Trust in Hashem. In the book Merchavas Alevos, The Duty of the Heart, which we've highly recommended by the Lubavitcher Rebbe for anyone like me and you and everyone who needs to trust Hashem. We get here to our next segment. We're still in the beginning of this. It's going to be a while, the series, and I think it's from talking to people around me and myself. We all need it. Here, the Rabbeinu Bechai discusses the difference between someone who is in the belief of Hashem and trusting Hashem to someone who is not. The standpoint for the person who is not. The person who has a business, the person who wants to have a life without understanding and accepting that God runs the world, has many, many, many issues. If he has a business or some kind of artistry, he needs all the materials for that, and he always worries where he's going to get it from. Therefore, he's always in concern about this kind of thing. He always is also, he not always necessarily can find this, whatever he wants. And we know for a lot of time, people are making mistakes that they know what to study or what to go into, and they also sometimes spend a lot of years in university or college or what have you, and eventually they end up not doing what they had intended to do. And we have always this issue, worry about Parnasa, where it's going to come, because Hashem says not the bread alone sustains the person. Once again, you'll tell me king. So the concern the person has regarding what he or she, especially in those days it pertained to men more, camera, the situation in a person's mind is always a concern. And here, details are concerned with a person who does not turn. In Lashon HaKodesh, in Hebrew, Parnasa is called teref, food, hunt. You hunt Parnasa. My beloved tigers hunt for food or fight, but they hunt. They don't eat. Unlike human beings, a tigress only worry, or a lion, whatever it should be, leopard and the bears, whatever, they all hunt for fun. You can see a predator, I don't like calling predators, you can see an animal, like the big cats walk by, huge herds, they're satisfied, they don't have to hunt, they don't worry. There's no worry here. But the person who has to make money, he's always worried, because the reasons for which whatever happens to him in every situation are hidden from him. They're not part of his life. Whereas the person who trusts Hashem, his parnasa is guaranteed. I swear to God, I'm swear to God, mamash, but I'm an example for it. The Batwajah is my Torah. And slowly and surely we get situation that whatever I need does get served. Why? Because that's how it is. Trust in Hashem is the key, the only key. Whereas a person who has a business, who believes that he makes the money or brings the money home or hunts the parnasa, livelihood, is always under stress, always searching, always wondering. How do you know that? Rabbi Becha brings the story of the prophet Eliyahu, when he was wandering and he was walking and he was hungry, and the crows brought him food and water. Or the story of the prophet Ovadiah, who took care of the times of King Ahab, who killed all the prophets. His wife Isabel killed all the prophets. He had 100 of those who were children of prophets. People could see the spiritual things in holiness, and he hid them in 2 caves, and he he fed them. He couldn't have done it on his own without the help of Hashem. He had no thought in his mind that it's not going to work. And why? Why? The principle is very simple. Mighty liars have become poor and hungry, and those who request Hashem will not be lacking of all good and goodness. And says you should fear Hashem, his holy people, because you have nothing lacking to those who fear him. And what does that mean? Oh, and it's even worse than that. It's even deeper than that. The person who believes in nature and believes that he or she is doing making the money can be harmed by the kind of work and by the kind of things they do. Stress is the greatest killer. Stress comes a lot because a person worries about well-being, as he says here later on, and because about what's going to be. This king is coming, this government is changing, all sorts of stress that bring the people to a situation whereby they can really harm themselves under the circumstances they put themselves on because they believe that what he's doing it. So if the situation also goes on that the person who is under it's called balachimia, the person who believes in nature and not beyond that, is under fear from other people. He may amass all kinds of properties, all kinds of assets, and then he'll be worried that somebody will take it away from him. Therefore, he's also under stress, this kind or that kind. And many times people are very stressed because something inside of them tells them they're not good enough. He's not worthy of this. He doesn't know. Sometimes a person has a lot of money, it's not satisfying. And when he's sick or under pressure from people, sorry, diabetes pills. He's always worried that somebody will take what he has, somebody will accost him, somebody will pressure him, somebody will push him away from his position. Where the one who trusts Hashem doesn't see that. He doesn't even think about it. As a matter of fact, the one who trusts Hashem doesn't have all these calculations. He believes in divine providence. Yes, he does work. If he has a business, he, like myself, as a therapist, I have to do my work and teacher and whatever you want. At the same time, one has to know that really where it comes from is only from God. Trusting God is very, very essential and very, very difficult. Therefore, the person who has all kinds of situations where he believes that he's under the guise and the control of nature, he's always stressed, he's always frightened, his heart isn't quiet, his soul is in turmoil, and he's always afraid of the government. In those days, he was the king and the people around him. And which happens? People do, steal from each other if they just can. And therefore, the principle we're dealing here with this particular segment is the understanding that if you feel that you're under the control of nature, not above it, which is God, you are not able to be free. You're not able to enjoy anything you have. You're always under stress, and you can accumulate a lot of money, he says here, and that will not help you. Because overall, you can collect and nothing will come from it. Your person, it cannot, as always chasing gold and silver and for the time of need. For the time he might need them to sustain himself. But if he doesn't have them, he may be falling apart. And therefore, the person who trusts Hashem doesn't have a situation like that. He trusts Hashem. He doesn't have to accumulate. He doesn't have to build mountains of assets. If he has assets, it's a gift from Shamayim. And it's not always for him. That's the idea.